My name is Isabella Whitman, and today is my 32nd birthday. My father has forgotten it for 32 years straight. He doesn't forget dates. He remembers my sister's birthday every year. He throws her lavish parties with caterers and grand speeches. But for me, there is only silence. I used to wait for his call. I used to pretend the neglect didn't hurt. Not this year. This time, instead of waiting, I took action. I took all my savings. I went to a lawyer's office, signed a mountain of paperwork, and bought myself a lake house. It was mine. I stood in my new, empty kitchen and took one quiet picture of the keys resting in my hand. I posted it online with just 4 words: birthday gift, self-gift. There were no tags, there was no warning. The family meltdown was instant. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing since. But before I tell you how everything flipped, like and subscribe, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? My name is Isabella Whitman. I am 32 years old, and I live in a peaceful lake house far away from my family. To understand why a picture of a set of keys caused a family war, you have to understand the 32 years that came before it. You have to understand what it is like to be the invisible child in a house full of spotlights. I grew up in a beautiful house. It was large, with a manicured lawn and a driveway that could fit 6 cars. From the outside, we looked like the perfect American family. We had the successful father, the busy mother, and the 2 daughters. But inside that house, there was a hierarchy. It was invisible, but it was as solid as the walls. My sister, Clara, was at the top. My father was the king who put her there. And I was somewhere at the bottom, quietly keeping everything running, quietly waiting for a turn that never came. It started when we were very young. Clara was 2 years younger than me, but she took up all the space. She was loud. She was demanding. She needed attention the way a fire needs oxygen, and my father gave it to her. He loved her loudness. He called it spirit. He called it charisma. I was different. I was quiet. I liked to read. I liked to draw. I didn't demand things. I thought that if I was good, if I was easy, if I caused no trouble, they would love me for it. I thought my silence would be rewarded. I was wrong. In my family, silence wasn't rewarded. It was ignored. The birthdays were the clearest evidence. I remember my 10th birthday. I had asked for a small party, just a few friends, pizza, and a movie. My mother said she would handle it. But 2 days before my birthday, Clara got the flu. It wasn't serious, just a fever and a cough. But my father acted like it was a national emergency. "We can't have people over with Clara sick," he said. He didn't look at me. He was feeling Clara's forehead. "But it's my birthday," I whispered. "Isabella, don't be selfish," he snapped. "Your sister is ill." So my birthday was canceled. We ordered pizza, but my father spent the whole meal checking on Clara on the couch. There was no cake because my mother forgot to pick it up in the chaos of Clara's illness. I sat at the table, eating a cold slice of pepperoni pizza, while the television played cartoons for my sister. No one sang. No one hugged me. I turned 10 in the dark, watching my father smooth my sister's hair. That was the pattern. When Clara turned 10, my father hired a pony. He rented a bouncy castle. He invited the entire neighborhood. There were 3 tiers on her cake. He gave a speech about how she was the light of his life. I stood in the back, holding a trash bag, collecting the wrapping paper she ripped off her gifts. I told myself it was just one time. But it happened again and again. My 16th birthday fell on a Tuesday. My father was on a business trip. He called the house and my heart jumped. I thought he remembered. "He's calling to say happy birthday." I answered the phone. "Hello, Isabella," his voice was rushed. "Put your mother on, I left a file on my desk." "Dad, it's Isabella, hurry up, I'm in a meeting." I swallowed the words. "Okay." I handed the phone to my mother. He never mentioned the date. When he came home that weekend, he brought a gift for Clara because he missed her. He brought me nothing. As we got older, the gap widened. I got straight A's. My father said, "That's nice, Isabella. Good job." Clara got a C on a test she studied 10 minutes for. My father said, "She's so smart, she doesn't even have to try. She's a natural genius." I worked a part-time job in high school to save for a car. My father told me it was good for my character. When Clara turned 16, he bought her a brand new convertible. He put a giant red bow on it. He took 100 photos of her in the driver's seat. "Why didn't I get a car?" I asked my mother privately. "Your father thinks you're more independent," she said. "Clara needs more help. You're the strong one." The strong one. That's the label they give to the child they don't want to worry about. It's not a compliment, it's an excuse. It's a way to say, we don't have to take care of you because you can take care of yourself, So I did. I took care of myself. I stopped asking. I stopped expecting. I went to college on a scholarship because my father said his money was tied up in investments. Investments that miraculously opened up 2 years later to pay for Clara's private university tuition. I built a life in the shadows of their spotlight. I became an accountant. It was a steady, quiet job. My father thought it was boring. "You're a number cruncher," he would say at family dinners, laughing. "Isabella loves her spreadsheets." Then he would turn to Clara. Clara was an influencer. She didn't have a steady job. She traveled, she shopped, she posted photos online. My father funded all of it. He called it building her brand. "Clara is an artist," he would tell people. "She's building an empire." I watched him write checks for her rent, her clothes, her trips. Meanwhile, I was living in a small apartment, budgeting every dollar, driving a used car. I never asked him for a dime. I thought he would respect that. I thought he would look at me and see a responsible adult. But he didn't see me. He only saw Clara. If Clara needed me, I was expected to jump. "Isabella, help your sister move." "Isabella, do your sister's taxes." "Isabella, lend your sister money. She's short this month." I always did it. I wanted to be part of the family. I wanted to be useful. I thought if I was useful enough, eventually they would have to love me. But love isn't a transaction. You can't buy it with obedience. The final straw began to form last year. I turned 31. My father forgot again. He was busy planning a promotion party for Clara. She hadn't actually been promoted. She just got a new title at the fake job my father's friend gave her. I sat alone in my apartment with a cupcake I bought myself. I looked at the candle. I realized I had spent 3 decades waiting for a man who didn't care. I looked at my bank account. Because I had been ignored, I had also been frugal. I had saved. I had invested. I had built a nest egg that no one knew about. My father thought I was just a boring accountant with a small life. He didn't know I was sitting on enough money to change everything. That night, blowing out the candle alone, I made a vow. Next year, I promised myself. Next year, I won't wait. I spent the next 12 months looking at houses. I didn't tell a soul. I drove to the lake every weekend. I found a beautiful, modern house with huge windows overlooking the water. It was peaceful. It was quiet. It was far away from them. I closed the deal 2 days before my 32nd birthday. The realtor handed me the keys. "Congratulations, Isabella. It's a beautiful home." She was the first person to congratulate me on anything in years. I drove to the house. I walked through the empty rooms. The floors echoed with my footsteps. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel small. I felt huge. I felt like I could breathe. I wasn't the forgotten daughter here. I was the owner. I was free. I posted the picture at 9 a.m. on my birthday. By 9:05 a.m., my phone began to buzz. It started with a notification from Instagram. My cousin, Emily, liked the photo. Then a comment from an old college friend. "Congrats, this is amazing." Then the family caught on. The first text came from Clara. "Clara, what is this?" Direct, accusatory, not congratulations. Not happy birthday. Just confusion and suspicion. I didn't reply. I was sitting on my new deck, drinking coffee, watching the sunlight hit the water. It was the most peaceful morning of my life. "Clara, Isabella, answer me. Did you buy a house? With what money?" "Clara, Dad is going to freak out." I sipped my coffee. I let the phone vibrate on the wooden table. It sounded like an angry insect. Then came my aunt, my father's sister. She was always his biggest enabler. "Aunt Linda, Isabella, I just saw your post. Is this a joke? You can't just buy a house without telling anyone. Call your father immediately. He is very worried." Worried. That was the word they always used. They weren't worried about my safety. They were worried about my obedience. They were worried that I had done something outside of the script. In their script, Isabella is the helper. Isabella is the one who stays in the small apartment and comes over to clean up after the parties. Isabella does not own a lake house. Then the group chat blew up. The family group chat was usually just my father sending updates about Clara's achievements or my mother sending holiday memes. I usually kept it on mute. But today I watched the messages scroll by. "Dad, Isabella, call me. Now, Mom, honey, please pick up. We are confused. Clara, she's ignoring me. She's acting so weird. Dad, this is ridiculous. Where did she get the money? Did she take out a loan? She's going to ruin her credit. Clara, it looks expensive. It's on the lake. Dad, she cannot afford that. She's going to come crawling back to us to bail her out. I am not paying for this mistake." I read the words mistake and crawling back. I felt a cold hardness settle in my chest. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. They didn't think I was capable. After all these years of handling my own life, paying my own bills, never asking them for anything, they still saw me as a child. A foolish child. And still, not one person had typed the words, "Happy birthday." I checked the date on my phone. September 14th. It was right there at the top of the screen. They were so busy panicking about their loss of control that they forgot the day. Again. I decided to respond to the group chat. I kept it simple. Me, I didn't take out a loan that I can't afford, I bought it. It's done, I'm fine. The response was instantaneous. Dad, you are not fine. You are acting out. You made a massive financial decision without consulting the head of this family. That is disrespectful. Dad, and why did you post it publicly? Now everyone is asking me about it. People think we didn't know. There it was. The truth. People think we didn't know. That was his real fear. He looked foolish. The great patriarch who controls everything didn't know his invisible daughter was buying real estate. It made him look disconnected. It made him look like he wasn't in charge. Clara, you did this on purpose. You knew my engagement party planning starts next week. You're trying to steal the attention. I laughed out loud. The sound startled a bird on the railing. Her engagement party, of course. Clara had gotten engaged 3 months ago. The wedding wasn't for another year, but the engagement planning party was next week. Everything had to be about her. Even my birthday, even my life. I typed back, "Me, this has nothing to do with you, Clara. This is my birthday gift to myself." Silence in the chat. 5 minutes passed. Then my mother wrote, "Mom, oh. Is that today?" It was the most hurtful thing she could have written. She truly didn't know. "Dad, don't change the subject, Isabella. We are talking about this house. You need to explain yourself. Come home immediately. We are having a family meeting." A family meeting. I knew what those were. That meant I sat on the small stool in the living room while my father paced back and forth, lecturing me, and Clara sat on the sofa smirking, and my mother looked at the floor. I looked at the water. I looked at the tall pines swaying in the wind. I wasn't in that living room anymore. I was in my house. My name was on the deed. Me, I can't come over. I'm busy unpacking. Me, and I'm not explaining myself. I'm 32 years old. My phone started ringing. It was my father. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Voicemail. It rang a third time. The panic was escalating. I could feel his rage vibrating through the device. He wasn't used to no. He wasn't used to the door being closed. I put the phone on Do Not Disturb. I went back inside my house. I walked into the kitchen. I had bought a small cake from the grocery store. Vanilla with white frosting. I placed it on the granite island. I didn't have any candles, so I just stood there and ate a forkful of cake. It tasted like sugar and victory. But the silence didn't last long. The anxiety started to creep in. I had defied him. I had humiliated him publicly. He wasn't going to let this go. I knew my father. He wouldn't just be angry. He would be vengeful. He would try to find a way to spoil this. He would try to find a flaw in the house, a flaw in my finances, a flaw in me. I checked my phone one more time. A text from my cousin, the one who liked the photo. "Cousin Emily, hey, your dad is calling everyone. He's telling people you're having a breakdown. He's asking if anyone has noticed you acting erratic. Just wanted to warn you." My hands shook slightly. He was already spinning the narrative. He was painting me as crazy. If I was crazy, then my independence didn't count. If I was crazy, he could dismiss my success as mania. If I was crazy, he could try to take control again. I took a deep breath. This was why I bought the house. To have a fortress. I wasn't crazy. I was just done. I sat on the floor of my empty living room, knees pulled to my chest. I wasn't the little girl waiting for a party anymore. I was a woman with a mortgage and a shiny new set of keys. But the little girl inside me was still scared. She was terrified of the man, who was currently calling her phone for the 10th time. I knew I had to answer eventually. Ignoring him forever wasn't an option if I wanted to set a real boundary. Hiding is not the same as standing your ground. At 4 p.m., I picked up the phone. "Hello, Isabella," his voice boomed. It wasn't a greeting, it was an explosion. "Do you have any idea how embarrassed I am?" I didn't say anything, I just breathed. I visualized the lake. "Are you listening to me?" he shouted. "I'm listening, Dad," I said calmly. My voice sounded different to my own ears. It was lower, steadier. "What were you thinking?" he demanded. "Buying a property. You don't know anything about real estate. You don't know about taxes, maintenance, insurance. You've made a huge mistake." "I have a degree in accounting, Dad," I said. "I know about taxes." "That's just paper," he scoffed. That's not the real world. Who is your agent? Who is the lawyer? I want their names. I need to review the paperwork. I bet they scammed you. I bet you overpaid. The sale is closed, Dad. The paperwork is done. You don't need to review anything. There was a silence on the other end. A shocked, heavy silence. I had never refused him a document before. Excuse me, he said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. I am your father. I am trying to protect you. You are being reckless. I'm not reckless, I said. I saved for 10 years. I put 20% down. I have a fixed interest rate. It's a good investment. You saved, he sounded skeptical. How you make, whatever it is you make. I make a good salary, Dad. I just don't spend it on designer bags. It was a dig at Clara. I couldn't help it. Don't bring your sister into this, he snapped immediately. Clara needs those things for her image. You don't need that. You have a simple life. Yes, I agreed. A simple life, and now I have a simple house. It's not simple, he yelled again. It's a lake house. Do you know how that looks? People are asking me if I bought it for you. They're asking why I bought you a house and not Clara. You are making it look like I favor you. I almost laughed. The irony was so thick I could choke on it. You're worried people think you favor me? I asked. Dad, everyone knows you favor Clara. This is the first thing I've ever had that is just mine. That is not true, he lied. I treat you exactly the same. But Clara has different needs. She is fragile. You are tough. I'm not tough, I said, my voice cracking just a little. I just had no choice. Stop with the drama, he groaned. Listen to me, I want you to take the post down. No, Isabella, take the post down. You are making a spectacle. People are gossiping. Tell everyone it was a joke or that you're just renting it for the weekend. We fix this narrative, now. It's not a narrative, Dad, it's my house. I live here now. You live there, he sounded horrified. What about your apartment? What about Sunday dinners? You're an hour away. Yes, I said, I am. You are abandoning this family, he accused. After everything we did for you. We put a roof over your head, we fed you. That's what parents are supposed to do, I said. That's the bare minimum. You ungrateful little, he stopped himself. He took a breath. I could hear him switching tactics. The anger was replaced by a smooth, condescending tone. Isabella, honey, he said. I know you're upset. Is this about your birthday? Is that it? Look, I'm sorry we forgot. Things have been crazy with Clara's engagement. You know how stressful weddings are. Don't punish us for being busy. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm just living my life. You're clearly having a crisis, he said. This is a midlife crisis. It's early, but that's what this is. You're lonely. You bought a big empty house to fill a void. It's sad, Bella. Come home. We can talk about selling it. I can help you get out of the contract. Maybe we lose the deposit, but I can fix this. He called me Bella. He never called me Bella, only when he wanted something. I don't want to sell it, I said firmly. And I'm not lonely. I was lonelier in your house than I will ever be here. Isabella, I have to go, Dad. I have boxes to unpack. If you hang up on me, do not expect me to visit, he threatened. Do not expect me to support this. I don't expect anything from you, I said. I haven't for a long time. I pulled the phone away from my ear. I could hear him shouting my name as I pressed the red button. Click. The line went dead. I stood in the kitchen, trembling. My heart was racing so fast it hurt. I felt dizzy. But I had done it. I had said no. I had hung up. For the first time in 32 years, I held the pen. I was writing the script. And he wasn't in the scene. After the call, the silence in the house felt heavy. I couldn't unpack. My hands were shaking too much. I sat on the floor with my back against the new dishwasher, hugging my knees. My father's voice was still echoing in my head. Ungrateful, reckless, sad. His words were like hooks, trying to drag me back into the old dynamic, trying to make me feel small. And as I sat there, the memories came. They didn't come as vague feelings anymore. They came as sharp, clear scenes. It was like buying this house had turned on a light in a dark room, and suddenly I could see the mess clearly. I remembered the Christmas of 2018. We were all sitting around the tree. There were piles of gifts. My father loved Christmas because it was an audience for his generosity. He handed Clara a small box. She opened it and screamed. It was a diamond tennis bracelet. To match your eyes, he said, beaming. Then he handed me a box. It was wrapped in the same paper. I opened it. It was a blender. For your smoothies, he said. I know you like to be healthy. I didn't even like smoothies. I had never made a smoothie in my life. Thank you, I had said. It's a good one, he added. Industrial strength. Clara was putting on her diamonds. I was holding a blender. The difference wasn't just in the cost, it was in the attention. He knew Clara's taste. He knew her desires. He didn't know me at all. He just saw me as a function. Someone who eats, sleeps, and exists. I remembered my college graduation. I graduated summa cum laude. It was a huge achievement. I walked across the stage, scanning the crowd for my parents. They weren't there. They arrived 20 minutes late after my name had been called. Traffic, my father said, shrugging. And Clara couldn't find her shoes. They took one photo of me in my gown, and then my father checked his watch. Let's go eat. I'm starving. At lunch, the conversation was entirely about Clara's upcoming audition for a local theater play. She's going to be a star, my father told the waiter. My daughter, the actress. I was sitting there in my cap and gown, invisible. I remembered the time I got a flat tire in the rain. I called my father. Dad, I'm stuck on the highway. Can you come help me? I can't, Isabella, he said. I'm watching the game. Call AAA, that's what you pay them for. 2 weeks later, Clara called him because she saw a spider in her bathroom. He drove 45 minutes to her apartment to kill it. She's terrified of them, he laughed later. She needed her daddy. Sitting on my kitchen floor, the tears finally came. They weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of grief. I was grieving the father I never had. I was grieving the time I wasted trying to win a game that was rigged against me. I realized then that it wasn't about me not being good enough. I could have been the president of the United States, and he would have asked me why I didn't get Clara a job in the White House. I could have cured cancer, and he would have asked why I didn't help Clara with her headache. It was never about my effort, it was about his ego. Clara was an extension of him. She was loud, flashy, and needy. She made him feel important. She made him feel like a savior. I was independent, I was quiet. I solved my own problems. I didn't make him feel needed, so he resented me. My independence was an insult to him. And this house was the ultimate insult. It proved I didn't need him. It proved I could build a castle without his money, without his permission, and without his name. I wiped my face with the back of my hand. The sun was setting over the lake. The water was turning a deep, bruised purple. I stood up. My legs were stiff. I walked to the sliding glass door and looked out. It was beautiful, and it was mine. He called me lonely. I looked at the empty room. I wasn't lonely. I was alone. There is a difference. Being alone in your own peace is better than being crowded in someone else's neglect. I turned away from the window and looked at the boxes. Okay, I said out loud. My voice was steady. I grabbed a box cutter. I sliced open the first box. It was my books. I started putting them on the shelves one by one. Jane Eyre, Great Expectations, The Count of Monte Cristo, stories about orphans. Stories about people who were cast aside and found their own way. I placed them on the shelf. I wasn't a character in my father's story anymore. I was the author of my own. And chapter 1 started right now. The first week in the lake house was strange. It was like learning to walk after spending a lifetime on your knees. My body was so used to the flinch, the constant, low-level anxiety of waiting for my father's criticism or my sister's demands, that the silence felt loud. I woke up on the first Saturday morning without an alarm. The sun was streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, hitting the pine floorboards. In my old life, Saturday mornings were for errands. Not my errands, of course. I would usually have a list from my mother, pick up Clara's dry cleaning, go to the bakery for the Sunday dinner rolls, drop off this package. But this morning, my phone was on the kitchen counter, face down. The list didn't exist. I made coffee. I sat on the deck. I watched a hawk circle over the water. I realized something terrifying and wonderful. I had absolutely nothing to do. For the first few days, I felt guilty. I felt like I was skipping school. I kept checking my phone, expecting the police to show up, the emotional police, led by my father, coming to arrest me for unauthorized happiness. But nobody came. The driveway remained empty. The only sound was the wind in the trees and the hum of my refrigerator. I started to understand that this house wasn't just a building. It was a physical manifestation of a no. Every beam, every window, every tile was a rejection of their dynamic. My father loved things that were flashy and fragile. He liked expensive cars that scratched easily. He liked white carpets you couldn't walk on. He liked status symbols. My house was different. It was sturdy. It was made of wood and stone. It was built to weather storms. It was built for living, not for showing off. As I unpacked, I found pieces of myself I thought I had lost. I found my old sketchbooks from high school. I hadn't drawn in 10 years because my father told me art was a waste of time and that I should focus on practical skills. I sat on the floor and opened a fresh page. I drew the lake. I drew the tree line. My hand was shaky at first, but then the rhythm came back. I remembered that I used to be creative. I used to be funny. I used to have dreams before I was assigned the role of the responsible one. One afternoon, I went into town to buy groceries. I walked into the local hardware store to get some hooks for the wall. The old man behind the counter smiled at me. "You're the one who bought the old Miller place, right?" I tensed up. "Yes. Good for you," he nodded. "That house has good bones, needs someone who appreciates it." "I do," I said. "I really do. You doing the work yourself?" "I'm going to try." "Good," he said. "Nothing like doing it yourself to make it yours." Make it yours. That phrase stuck with me. My apartment in the city hadn't been mine. My father had co-signed the lease just in case, even though I had the credit score. He had a key. He would drop by unannounced to check the pipes, which really meant checking if I was keeping it clean enough. Here, nobody had a key but me. I drove back to the house, and as I turned into the driveway, I felt a shift in my chest. I wasn't just hiding out here. I wasn't just running away. I was building a base. This was my headquarters. For 32 years, I had been a satellite orbiting their planet. Now I was my own planet, and I had gravity. The silence from the family didn't last. My father was regrouping. He realized that screaming at me hadn't worked, so he sent in the flying monkeys. In narcissistic families, flying monkeys are the people the abuser manipulates to do their dirty work. They are the enablers. They come disguised as peacemakers, but they are really just carrying ammunition. The first one was Aunt Linda. She drove all the way up to the lake on a Tuesday evening. I saw her car pull in, my father's old Lexus that he had sold to her for a family discount. I watched her get out. She looked around at the trees with a skeptical expression, clutching her purse like she was in a war zone. I opened the door before she could knock. "Aunt Linda." "Isabella," she breathed, looking me up and down like she expected to see me in a straitjacket. "Oh, thank God, you look clean." "Why wouldn't I look clean?" I asked, stepping aside to let her in. She walked into the living room. Her eyes scanned everything, the high ceilings, the stone fireplace, the lake view. I saw a flicker of jealousy in her eyes, quickly covered by a mask of concern. "It's big," she said. "Very isolated." "It's peaceful," I corrected. She sat on the edge of my sofa. "Isabella, your father is worried sick. He hasn't slept in 3 days. Your mother is crying nonstop." "They have my phone number," I said. "They can call me and talk like adults." Instead, Dad screamed at me and Mom ignored me. "They are hurt," Linda exclaimed. "You blindsided them. You ran away like a thief in the night." "I didn't run away. I moved. Adults move, Aunt Linda." "But the post," she whispered, leaning in. "The caption, self-gift. It was so aggressive. Everyone is talking." "Cousin Sarah asked if you were on drugs." "Uncle Bob thinks you joined a cult." I laughed. "A cult? It's a mortgage, Linda." "You are embarrassing your father," she said, her voice sharpening. "He has a reputation. He told everyone you were just stressed from work and needed a break. He told everyone this is a rental, a vacation rental." I stopped pouring her tea. I set the pot down hard. "He lied," I said. "He is trying to protect you." "No," I looked her in the eye. "He is trying to protect himself. He can't handle the fact that I bought this without his help. He can't handle that I'm successful." "Successful?" Linda scoffed. "Isabella, let's be real. How did you afford this? Did you steal money? Did you get involved with a man?" The insult hit me in the chest. They couldn't conceive of a world where I was capable. "I worked," I said clearly. "I saved, I invested, for 10 years. While Clara was partying, I was working. While Dad was buying Clara cars, I was saving. This is what happens when you don't spend your money on appearances." Linda stood up. "You are being cruel. Your sister loves you. She is devastated that you won't be helping with her engagement party." "Is that what this is about?" I asked. "The party? She needs her sister," Linda said. "She needs your help with the planning. The logistics, you know she's not good with details. Dad said you were supposed to handle the catering contracts." "I'm not the party planner," I said. "I'm not the assistant. If Clara is old enough to get married, she's old enough to read a contract." "You are selfish," Linda spat the word out. "You have changed. You used to be the sweet one." "I used to be the doormat," I corrected. "There's a difference." Linda left 20 minutes later. She didn't drink her tea. As she walked to her car, I did something I had never done. I took out my phone and I posted a story on Instagram. It was a video of the sunset over the lake. I spoke over it. Loving my new permanent home. So grateful I saved for 10 years to make this happen. Hard work pays off. I emphasized the word permanent. I saw Linda's car pause at the end of the driveway as she likely checked her notification. Then she sped off. The next day, my cousin Sarah, the one who thought I was on drugs, messaged me. Sarah, is it true you bought it? Linda said it's a rental. Me, I bought it, Sarah. Want to see the deed? Sarah, wow, your dad told us you were having a mental breakdown and spent your savings on a timeshare scam. Me, Dad is lying. Come visit if you want, it's lovely. Sarah didn't come, but the seed was planted. I wasn't playing along with his story anymore. I was broadcasting my own reality. For the first time, the extended family had to choose between his loud fiction and my quiet evidence. And evidence is a stubborn thing. 2 weeks later, the real reason for the panic emerged. It wasn't just about control, it was about money, it always is. I was sitting in my home office, a room that looked out over the garden, working on my remote job when my sister called. I hesitated. I hadn't spoken to Clara since the group chat explosion. I answered. Hello, Clara. You need to send the deposit, she said. No hello, no how are you? Excuse me, the venue, she said, her voice high and tight. The Sapphire Room, they need the second deposit today or we lose the date. Dad said you have the details. I leaned back in my chair. Clara, I don't have the details. I'm not planning your party. Stop being a bitch, she snapped. Dad said you were handling the boring stuff. He said he was paying for the dress and the flowers and the band, and you were covering the venue and the catering as your gift. I froze. My father had promised her that I would pay for the venue and the catering. The Sapphire Room was one of the most expensive venues in the state. Catering for 200 people. That was easily $15,000 or $20,000. He had promised away my money. He assumed that, like always, I would just do it. He assumed I would dip into my savings, the savings he didn't know I had spent on the house, and cover the bill to keep the peace. He had budgeted my life for me without asking. Clara, I said slowly, I never agreed to that. What? I never agreed to pay for the venue. Dad never asked me. I didn't sign anything. But he said, her voice wobbled. He said it was handled. He said you were the money person for the boring bills. I bought a house, Clara, I said. I don't have $20,000 lying around for a party. And even if I did, I wouldn't spend it on a party I wasn't invited to help plan. You're ruining everything, she screamed. The deposit is due today. Dad doesn't have it liquid. His money is all in the trust for the wedding next year. He said you had the cash. Then Dad needs to figure it out, I said. He's going to kill you, she cried. He can't touch me, I said. I'm in my own house. If we lose this date, I will never forgive you. You should ask Dad why he promised money that wasn't his, I said. I hung up. 10 minutes later, my father called. I let it go to voicemail. He texted. Dad, transfer the money to the venue immediately. We will discuss your reimbursement later. Me, no, Dad, this is not a negotiation. Clara is crying. You are destroying her happiness. Me, you promised money you didn't have. That's not my fault. I am not paying for the party. The fallout was spectacular. They lost the date at the Sapphire Room. They couldn't come up with the cash in 3 hours. They had to move the party to a hotel ballroom 3 towns over. It was a nice hotel, but it wasn't the Sapphire Room. For my sister, this was a tragedy on the level of a natural disaster. She posted on social media about unforeseen circumstances and family betrayal. But she didn't name me, because if she named me, she would have to admit that I was the one with the money, and she was the one begging for it. She would have to admit that her rich father couldn't cover the bill. I heard through the grapevine, my cousin Sarah again, that the party was a disaster. The flowers were wrong. The food was mediocre. My father spent the whole night sweating and apologizing to guests, explaining that there were logistical mix-ups. He looked stressed. He looked old. For the first time, he had to carry the weight of his own promises. Usually, I was the structural support. I was the one who fixed the budget, who smoothed over the errors, who filled in the gaps with my own time and money. Without me, the facade cracked. I sat in my lake house that night, eating a grilled cheese sandwich. I thought about them in that hotel ballroom, miserable in their finery. I realized that I had been the glue holding their fantasy together. I was the one who made them look functional. By walking away, I hadn't just removed myself. I had removed the foundation. And now, the house of cards was falling. I thought the money was the bottom. I thought that was the worst it could get. I was wrong. A narcissist who loses control is dangerous. When they can't manipulate you with guilt, and they can't bully you with shouting, they try to destroy you. If they can't own you, they want to make sure no one else respects you. It was a Monday morning, a month after the party disaster. I was logged into my work email. I saw a meeting invite pop up from HR. Subject, urgent discussion. My stomach dropped. I was a model employee. I had never had a meeting with HR in 7 years. I logged into the video call. The HR director, a woman named Karen, looked serious. My manager, David, was also on the call. He looked uncomfortable. Isabella, Karen started. We received a disturbing email this morning. We have to address it. An email? I asked. It was sent to the general CEO inbox and copied to our department, Karen said. It claims to be from a concerned family member. My blood ran cold. It alleges, Karen continued, reading from a screen, that you are suffering from a severe mental health crisis. It says you have been engaging in erratic financial behavior, that you are abusing substances, and that you have embezzled family funds to purchase a property. It suggests that you are a liability to the company and should be placed on immediate leave. The room spun. He had done it, my father. He had tried to nuke my career. He knew my job was my source of independence. If he killed my job, I would lose the house. If I lost the house, I would have to come home. It was a strategic strike. It was war. I took a deep breath. I looked at my hands. They were shaking, but I forced them to stop. Karen, I said, who sent the email? It was sent from a Thomas Whitman. That is my father, I said. David, my manager, spoke up. Isabella, we know you. You've been with us for years. Your work is impeccable. But these are serious accusations. Embezzlement, substance abuse. It's retaliation, I said clearly. My voice was stronger than I expected. I recently purchased a home. My father did not approve of me moving away. He wanted me to use my savings to pay for my sister's wedding events. I refused. This is his way of punishing me. Karen looked at David. I can provide my bank statements, I said. I can prove where every cent for my house came from. It was my salary. Money you paid me. There is no embezzlement. As for the substance abuse, I am happy to take a drug test right now. Today, and the mental health, Karen asked gently. I am the sanest I have ever been, I said. I finally set a boundary with an abusive parent. That is not a crisis. That is health. There was a long silence. Then David nodded. I believe you, Isabella. I've seen your work. I know your character. Karen sighed. We have to document this, obviously, but the email was written in a very hysterical tone. It didn't read like a professional whistleblower. It read like a tantrum. He's losing control, I said. He's desperate. We will flag his email address, Karen said. If he contacts us again, we will block him. I'm sorry you're going through this, Isabella. This is incredibly unprofessional of him. It's not just unprofessional, I said. It's evil. We ended the call. I sat there, staring at the black screen. I wasn't scared anymore. I was furious. He had tried to take the food out of my mouth. He had tried to destroy my reputation, the one thing I had built entirely on my own. He didn't care if I was homeless. He didn't care if I was ruined. He only cared that I was punished. That was the moment the last thread of attachment snapped. I didn't love him anymore. I didn't miss him. I didn't want his approval. I realized he wasn't a father. He was just a man who shared my DNA and wanted to break my spirit. I opened my email client. I drafted a new email. To Thomas Whitman, Clara Whitman, Mom, Aunt Linda, and the entire extended family list. Subject, goodbye. I didn't write a long, emotional letter. I didn't justify myself. I didn't argue. I wrote, Dad, I know you emailed my HR department today trying to get me fired. They saw through it. They know the truth. You tried to destroy my livelihood because I wouldn't pay for a party. That is not love. That is not family. I am done. Do not contact me. Do not come to my house. If you do, I will file a restraining order. I have the HR report as evidence of harassment. I wish you all well. But I will not be part of this dynamic ever again. Isabella, I hit send. Then I picked up my phone. I went to my contacts. Dad, block. Mom, block. Clara, block. Aunt Linda, block. I sat in the silence of my office. A bird flew past the window. The lake shimmered in the afternoon sun. It was done. I was an orphan by choice. And for the first time in my life, I felt completely safe. 6 months have passed since that email. The seasons have changed. The green leaves of the lake turned to gold, then brown, and now the snow is falling softly on the pines. My life is quiet. Some people might call it boring. I wake up. I work. I walk by the lake. I read. I cook dinner for myself. But to me, it's not boring. It's a symphony of peace. My cousin Sarah still texts me sometimes. She's the only link I kept. She tells me snippets of news, though I rarely ask. She told me Clara's wedding is over budget. My father had to take out a second mortgage on his house to pay for it because he couldn't admit he couldn't afford it. She told me the family dinners are tense. Without me there to diffuse the tension, without me there to be the punching bag, they have turned on each other. My father yells at Clara. Clara yells at Mom. Mom cries. They are eating each other alive. I feel a distant sadness for them, like watching a tragedy on the news. But I don't feel the urge to jump in and save them. I threw them a life raft for 30 years. They poked holes in it. I spent my 33rd birthday last week. I didn't have a party. I invited 2 friends from work, people who know me, who respect me, who like me for who I am, not what I can do for them. We grilled steaks on my deck. We drank good wine. We laughed until our sides hurt. Nobody forgot the date. Nobody made me feel small. At midnight, after they left, I stood on the edge of my dock. The moon was reflecting on the frozen water. I thought about Isabella at 10, eating cold pizza in the dark. I thought about Isabella at 16, answering the phone for a father who didn't want to speak to her. I thought about Isabella at 30, crying in her car. I whispered to the cold air, "We made it." I am not the daughter they wanted. I am not the obedient servant. I am not the invisible girl. I am the woman who bought the lake house. I am the woman who walked away. I am the woman who saved herself. My father's punishment was supposed to be my exile. He thought that by cutting me off, by ignoring me, by attacking me, he would break me. He didn't understand that he was giving me the keys to my freedom. He thought I was afraid of the dark. He didn't know that I had learned to make my own light. And to anyone reading this, anyone who is holding their breath, waiting for a parent to finally see them, waiting for a thank you that never comes, let it go. Put down the phone. Stop auditioning for a role you will never get. Walk out the door, buy the house, or rent the apartment, or just take the drive. The silence might scare you at first, but eventually you will hear the most beautiful sound in the world. Your own voice, finally speaking the truth. I'm Isabella Whitman. I'm 33 years old. And for the first time in my life, I am exactly where I belong.